Hey guys, Jacob with Falkor Defense, and today we're going to be talking about our 7 action. So it took about 2 years of development before we actually made our first successful action. There's a lot to take into consideration when you're talking about making a Remington 700 footprint action. The bottom of it, the footprint, is Remington 700. That's about the only thing that is Remington 700 on this action. All the other tolerances have been changed, the thread tenon, the head spacing has been changed. There's a lot of features that are incorporated into this action that are an upgrade from what a standard Remington 700 action would be. And it took us a while to figure out what coating combination to use as far as what tolerancing we wanted, the tolerance between the action body itself and the bolt, what was going to run smoothly but not be too sloppy, be loose enough tolerances that if you got some debris or dirt in there, it wasn't going to bind up, but again, not so tight that it'd bind up if you got a small speck of sand in there. So there's a lot of T&E that was involved, a lot of time in the development of the action, a lot of coating combinations that we tried. Some worked okay, some worked terribly, and ultimately it was a lot of different people giving us input into the features that they wanted to see in this action that brought it to where it is today. So what makes our action different? This is a question that we get asked a lot. Why is Falkor different than any other action that might be on the market? And one of the main things is the tolerances, right? The tolerance between the bolt and the action body, so you're going to run smoothly without getting debris in there. The coating combination that we use, the DLC on the bolt versus the nitride on the body. You see, we originally were going to DLC the bolt and we were going to DLC the body, but the problem is that they have the same friction coefficient. So it's like rubbing a piece of ice on another piece of ice, and you kind of get a little bit of a suction cup effect, versus if you were to take a piece of ice and you were to rub it on glass, it's going to be super smooth and silky. That's because those two things have a different friction coefficient, and so the coatings are going to work together to be fairly lubricious without having to have a bunch of oil. When we build these actions and we ship them out, we don't put any oil on them, and they're super smooth out of the box. If you put a little bit of oil on there, and the more rounds that you shoot through it, the smoother it's going to get. It's just going to continue to break in and be super smooth while you're running it. So some of the features that we incorporated into this action, the first thing I want to talk about is the integrated recoil lug. So a lot of companies do a pinned recoil lug, and we knew right off the bat that that wasn't going to be sturdy enough for the design that we were going for. On this 7 model, the Picatinny rail is actually integrated as well. On our other model, the LW7 action, we don't have an integrated rail. It's a round top, and it accepts a few different options on split Picatinny, full Picatinny, or direct scope mount rings. And there's a whole separate video on our YouTube channel about that action if you'd like to check it out. Another thing we did regarding the receiver body itself was we put some blow-off holes on either side of the receiver, and what that's going to do is if there's ever a catastrophic failure in the chamber, that gas pressure is going to go out the sides of the receiver and not back into the face of the shooter. We also did the same thing on our bolt as well. We have some relief holes on the bolt. If for some reason the gas pressure were to push back past that firing pin and go down the channel of the bolt, it's going to go out the bolt body and again not back into the face of the shooter. The fire control group is a Remington 700 fire control group in the sense that it does need a tool to be removed on this model. So you need a shoelace or a tool, the edge of a table, to be able to untwist your fire control group. The bolt is a 90-degree bolt throw, and it has an M16 style extractor. We did that because it's a very positive extraction and it's very consistent and robust. It's also very easy to change out if it were to get broken or get wear and tear on it. It's a push style ejector on this bolt setup. On the bottom of these actions, they're cut to accept a Wyatt extended box if you wanted to run an extra long round as far as a 6.5 PRC or something like that in the short action, 300 PRC in the long action. And our ejection port is actually machined longer as well. So that's the big difference between ours and a Remington 700 as far as the footprint is concerned, if you're looking at getting a stock cut by a stock manufacturer. But there's a lot of stock manufacturers out there that are cutting inlets specifically for these Falkor 7 actions and LW7 actions. I know AG Composites is, I know Manners is, I know McMillan is. There's a whole list of these guys, and we'll do a separate video on capabilities of pre-fit compatibility and different Remington 700 stocks and chassis that are going to be compatible with these actions. Another thing that I want to talk about is this vertical bolt stop. So on a horizontal bolt stop, the only thing that's actually stopping your bolt from coming out is the pin that goes down through that horizontal stop and into the receiver. On our vertical style bolt stop, the way it's designed, you actually have the bolt stop itself sitting against the receiver. So there's a lot more material there stopping that bolt from coming out. So it's going to last a lot longer and it's going to hold up a lot better to severe abuse. And again, on the Remington 700 pattern, what does that mean? That means that this footprint models a Remington 700. Remington 700, I compare it to the Chevy 350 a lot of the action world because it's easy to find parts for. There's a lot of them out there. It did a great job, but a lot of times guys buy them, bore them out, and overhaul them. Well, we've already done that with this action, so you don't have to go and do it yourself. It doesn't need to be blueprinted, doesn't need to be trued. This thing out of the box is going to be like a Remington 700 on steroids. And what that means for the consumer is the compatibility of this action. You're going to have a ton of offerings for stock manufacturers, chassis manufacturers to be able to use any kind of setup that you want, whether you're building this for a tactical application, whether you're building it to hunt coyotes, whether you're building it for long distance shooting. These actions are going to be able to accommodate any sort of custom build setup that you want. Or if you don't want to mess with picking out every part individually, pre-built rifles from Falkor Defense, as we do have a hunting offering and we do have a competition offering in our complete rifle setups. Another thing I want to talk about is pre-fit barrels. So what is a pre-fit barrel? A pre-fit barrel is a barrel that has been fit and chambered by a barrel manufacturer without having to have the action on hand. And you would say, well, that seems pretty standard. It is now. 10 years ago, absolutely was not the case. Nowadays, the headspace tolerances, the expectation to hold the tightness is far beyond what it used to be. So we're holding a headspace tolerance that allows a barrel manufacturer to fit and chamber a shouldered pre-fit barrel that will spin onto any Falkor 7 or LW7 or MT7 action for that matter and headspace properly. Bigger gunsmith shops, Straight Jacket Armory, Dane Miller rifles that are cutting pre-fit barrels for our actions. So the availability for the consumer to go and buy barrel after barrel if they choose to shoot them out is going to be really readily available. So not only are you going to have the options for the Remington 700 footprint for stocks, but the pre-fit capability of the barrel systems for our actions, there's a ton of options out there. Triggers is another thing that I want to touch on. You can run whatever sort of Remington 700 trigger you want on these actions. We run a lot of Trigger Tech here, but you could run Bix and Andy, you could run Jewel, you could run Elfman. Anything that you want to be able to build, just choose the Falkor action to be the heart of your build, and you won't be sorry. All that to say, there's no reason that you shouldn't try a Falkor defense action on your next build. Thank you for your time, for tuning in, guys, taking a minute to watch this overview on our 7 action. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so next time we come out with a new video, you'll get the notification for it.